have guessed? Ken Carman and Anthony Lima arguing and bickering about Shedeur Sanders.
Oh yeah. He don't feel it, He definitely felt it on this one.
Shedeur Sanders is sitting in an ice bath in 104-degree heat, saying absolutely nothing. No interviews, no shots fired, just chains, sprints, and cold water. And somehow that silence is driving Cleveland media completely out of their minds. Because on July 4th, while the rest of the country grilled burgers, a former NFL scout watched one of those training clips and fired off a public shot at his speed. 10 days later, Cleveland radio hosts were fighting each other on air about a man who hasn't spoken in weeks. That's where we are. Let's get into it. Let's start with what Shedeur has actually been doing, because it matters. ESPN reported that he spent most of the winter living and training in Cleveland instead of flying off somewhere warm. And even Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the team, brought it up at the league meetings. Haslam said his body looks better, said he's clearly been working hard, and said his instincts tell him Shedeur is coming back ready to play. That's the owner, unprompted. Shedeur himself put it simply, calling this the most important thing I have to do in my life. He bought a house in Cleveland. He planted a flag. Then came the videos. ESPN Cleveland posted a clip of Shedeur running sprints with chains strapped to his waist, dragging weight through the summer heat, and it went viral almost instantly. Browns Nation pointed out that fans hadn't heard much about his off-season training at all, which made the clip land even harder. This wasn't a documentary crew. This wasn't a press release. It was a leaked window into a guy grinding in private. The one time he did post anything himself, it wasn't even about football drama. Athlon Sports covered an Instagram carousel he dropped in late June, and it was training clips mixed with beach shots and mountain scenery. Work, then recovery, then more work. Fans flooded the comments saying they loved seeing that side of him. No shots at teammates, no cryptic captions about the depth chart. A 24-year-old quarterback recharging his body and his mind like a professional who plans on being here a long time. And the stuff we've seen since paints the same picture. The man is out there in 104-degree Texas heat working on his arm, pulling sleds, lifting, throwing, and then climbing into an ice bath to recover and do it all again. No captions, no subliminal posts, no response to anybody. He's just working and vibing. And honestly, the ice bath alone deserves respect, because those things are miserable. Now, compare that to the other side of this quarterback room. Deshaun Watson has spent the summer posting his workouts constantly, and Heavy covered his latest session where he was throwing to KC Concepcion and talking straight into the camera about stacking days and stepping on necks. That's his right, and the work looks real. But notice the difference. One quarterback is narrating his grind for the public. The other one got caught grinding by accident. And guess which one the Cleveland media decided to get angry about?
See, with the NFL players and legends, I think the positive mean for Shedeur Sanders is I do think he was an NFL starting quarterback on. Man, hey, Chris, talk about it. Because coming out the draft, as much as y'all wanted to ding Shedeur about things, this idea that he didn't have enough arm talent, I was never buying it. So NFL quarterback says, hey, positives, by the way, that boy got an NFL arm. It's plenty good to make all the big throws. We saw highlight type throws. I think that's the thing that surprised me. The physical backyard plays he made last year in the NFL.
It get dangerous.
Shedeur, he's definitely surprised me. He's got a very good short area quickness to make people miss. He can run and get to 10 to 12 yards. He will hang in the pocket and throw the ball under pressure.
So if the owner is impressed, and an NFL quarterback is impressed, who exactly is melting down? Glad you asked. July 14th, no games, no practice, no press conferences. The only Shedeur content in existence is a man sitting in ice water. And yet somehow, if you scrolled that day, you found Ken Carman and Anthony Lima on 92.3 The Fan bickering about Shedeur Sanders like the season starts tomorrow. Grown professionals on a radio station cussing about a quarterback competition in the middle of the deadest week on the sports calendar. And one of the hosts even asked an honest question on air. Has anybody in 6 months of these fights ever actually changed their mind about Shedeur Sanders? Real life or online, has one single person surrendered? Everybody knows the answer is no. So the fighting isn't persuasion. That's not analysis. That's an obsession. And it wasn't just radio. 10 days earlier, former NFL scout Daniel Kelly watched that viral sprint video, the one showing Shedeur training in the Texas heat, and tweeted out, "He's way too slow." Yardbarker picked it up and ran it as a brutal reality check over a workout clip in July. The man ran a 4.6840 coming out and picked up 169 rushing yards as a rookie. But sure, one slow-motion sprint video tells the whole story. Nobody said a word about the fact that he was dragging resistance chains in triple-digit heat, which is, the entire point of the drill. You're not supposed to look fast pulling a sled. You're supposed to look fast in September because you pulled one in July. Then you've got the legend himself, Joe Thomas, who went on the Rich Eisen show back in June and said Shedeur isn't exceptional at using his legs to pick up first downs, and predicted Deshaun Watson would probably be the guy walking into training camp. Hall of Fame player, all the respect in the world for his career, but that's a strange thing to plant a flag on when an actual NFL quarterback watched the same film and saw a guy who can run and get 10 to 12 yards whenever he needs it. Stack the trade noise on top of all that. All summer, national outlets have been linking Shedeur to the Cowboys, the Jaguars, and the Jets, with Pro Football Network floating the idea of Jerry Jones grabbing him cheaply to sit behind Dak Prescott. Sounds spicy, except the Sporting News noted that the actual reporting says he's staying, the actual building says he's improving, and the rumor machine keeps printing anyway, because a quiet quarterback in an ice bath doesn't generate clicks on his own. Somebody has to invent the noise for him. And here's the part that gives the whole game away. On that same July 14th show, the argument turned into whether you're allowed to say Shedeur struggled last year without explaining the circumstances around it. The hosts were literally fighting about the rules of talking about him. When your content has become arguing about how to argue about a player, you're not covering football anymore. You're coping. Because the actual numbers this offseason don't justify panic in either direction. The Spun reported that in open team drills, Watson completed 90 of 133 passes with 13 touchdowns and 3 picks, while Shedeur went 79 of 113 with 5 touchdowns and 3 picks. Close. Competitive, exactly what a real quarterback battle looks like. Nothing in those numbers screams emergency, but calm doesn't get callers, and callers pay salaries.
Why do I scroll on July 14th? And by the grace of God, because I promise you, I don't follow 92.3 The Fan, but by the grace of, I don't know if it's God, but oh wow, who would have guessed? Ken Carman and Anthony Lima arguing and bickering about Shedeur. Say, oh, what possibly could they be upset about now? It's the middle of July. The only updates we have are people in ice baths. Side note, I almost caught hypothermia one time, or maybe it was just anaphylactic shock. I don't know. One time I got in the ice bath on the 2-a-day in an FCA camp, and I felt like I was dying. So I don't rock with ice baths. I do want to just put that out in the ether.
They're screaming on the radio, he's sitting in ice water. One of those two people is losing, and it's not the one in the tub. Now let's stack up what the actual football people are saying, because it's a completely different conversation. Chris Sims, former NFL quarterback, 8 years in the league, said flat out that Shedeur has an NFL starting quarterback arm, that it's plenty good to make every big throw, and that the backyard plays he made as a rookie genuinely surprised him. He talked about the short area quickness, the ability to hang in the pocket and deliver under pressure. Remember, this is a man who spent 8 seasons taking real NFL snaps, mostly in Tampa, after starring at Texas. When he evaluates arm talent, he's comparing it against guys he shared fields with, not against a hot take quota. And notice where he said it. Not on Cleveland radio, not on ESPN Cleveland, on a national platform where there's no local drama to feed and no phone lines to light up. He's not alone on the technical side either. Lance Reisland went on 92.3 The Fan, yes, the same station, and broke down how Shedeur attacks the middle of the field, hitting those chunk throws between the hashes in the 15 to 25-yard range, saying he does it at a very, very high level. And here's the kicker. Reisland pointed out that Todd Monken's offense is built on attacking exactly that area of the field. So the film guy is telling you the new head coach's scheme and the young quarterback's best trait line up almost perfectly. The people inside the building have been saying the same thing. ESPN reported that Shedeur's growth this offseason was described as phenomenal, with real measurable improvement in the two areas everybody dinged him for as a rookie, his footwork and his processing speed. Footwork and processing, those aren't vibes. Those are the two most coachable, most trackable traits a quarterback has, and the people watching him every day say both jumped. That's what staying in Cleveland all winter buys you. That's what the ice baths and the chains are for, and it's why Monken refused to hand Watson the job after minicamp and drag this competition into training camp instead. You don't extend a competition for a guy who's fading. You extend it for a guy who's climbing. Meanwhile, what is the loudest wing of the Browns media brought to the table? No film, no charts, no breakdowns. The same station that spent last cycle pushing the East-West Shrine Bowl story about Shedeur that got publicly shot down by the event's own leadership. When you've been caught spreading things that weren't true, maybe, just maybe, people are allowed to ask for your sources before you spend another July screaming. And if you want one line that settles how real this competition is, take it from Field Yates at ESPN, who called it the truest quarterback competition in the NFL. Truest. Not a formality, not a Watson coronation, a dead-even fight that gets decided in pads, not on drive time radio.
Why are we trying to change each other's mind on July 14th? I want to know, honestly, the guys who have had the Shedeur fights for the last year,
Deontay?
has there ever been anybody who said, you know what, you're right, you've changed my mind on Shedeur Sanders? Has there anybody who's had the fight about Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson over the last 6 months? Has anybody, real life or online, told you, you know what, you've changed my mind? You're right. It's July 14th. Why are we still fighting? Can we just get to training camp and go, okay, now you guys are here at training camp. Let's see how you guys do.
Yeah, that's the great part of this.
Like,
is that it doesn't matter whether or not you're changing your opinion. They're going to compete. They're going to compete come training camp. You've got a new head coach, so none of that previous bias is going to enter into it. All the stuff that people levied against Kevin Stefanski, that's gone. So now the best man wins.
Here's the truth nobody on that station wants to say out loud. The meltdown isn't about Shedeur's game. It's about what happens to their content if he wins. What actually matters. Because think about what changed this offseason. Kevin Stefanski is gone. Todd Monken is the head coach now, and every excuse, every grudge, every stale narrative from last season got wiped off the board with him. Even in the middle of that July 14th argument, one of the hosts admitted it. New coach, clean slate, they're going to compete at camp and the best man wins. That's the whole story. Everything else is noise designed to fill airtime until late July. And the smartest Browns voices get it. Joe Thomas, whatever you think of his take on Shedeur's legs, went on 92.3 The Fan on June 30th and torched the trade talk, calling Shedeur a development project who was forced onto the field before he was ready, and saying that flipping him for a fourth-round pick would make no sense when nobody knows his ceiling yet. Even the guy the media loves to quote against Shedeur is telling you to keep him and let him win the job long-term. There's also a money side to this that the radio shows conveniently skip. Yardbarker laid it out cold. Watson's deal is $230 million fully guaranteed. He started 19 of a possible 68 games as a Brown, and Jimmy Haslam himself stood up at the owners' meetings and admitted the team took a big swing and missed on him. Shedeur's entire rookie contract costs a fraction of one Watson game check, and every first-team snap the veteran takes is a snap the young guy doesn't get, in the exact window a young quarterback needs them most. When you understand those stakes, the ice baths and the chains stop looking like content. They look like a man who knows exactly how narrow his window is and refuses to waste a single day of it. The head coach is saying the same thing in his own way. Heavy reported Monken believes both quarterbacks can start and play winning football, which is exactly why he wouldn't name a starter after minicamp. He would have loved to leave spring with a clear number one. He couldn't because Shedeur wouldn't let him. And that's maybe the most important detail buried in all of this. Browns Nation reported the quiet part directly. The job likely would have already been Watson's if Shedeur hadn't been so impressive in OTAs. Read that again. The silent guy, the ice bath guy, the one who never responds to anything, closed a gap so hard in May and June that a $230 million veteran couldn't shake him. That's why July feels tense in Cleveland. Not because Shedeur is slipping, because he isn't. So when Haslam says he'll come back ready, when the building calls his growth phenomenal, when the schedule says the Browns open September 13th in Jacksonville with a job still up for grabs, everything real about this story points in one direction. The work is working. The only people falling apart are the ones holding microphones.
Pick your shorts up. Do something. Go for a jog. All right? Before you even decide that you can cast any sort of doubt, shade, or any other things towards these people who are actually doing stuff. Not on a day where anybody calls you out. Not on a day where there's any football. On a day where you are reading Twitter comments. You got so upset. And what's Shedeur doing? Hey, what's Shedeur doing?
2 weeks until camp. One quarterback talking to cameras, one quarterback talking to nobody, and a whole media market talking to itself. So let's put the whole picture together. It's the middle of July. Shedeur Sanders has not said one public word about Anthony Lima, Ken Carman, Daniel Kelly, Joe Thomas, or anybody else. His entire offseason statement has been chains, sprints, 100-degree heat, and ice water. And in response, a scout took shots at his speed over a phone video, and 2 radio hosts got into a shouting match about whether you're even allowed to mention his rookie year without a disclaimer. And it's worth remembering he's not the only young guy handling it right. KC Concepcion, the rookie receiver, has been all over these off-season workouts too, catching passes from Watson one week and grinding with veterans like Deontay Johnson the next. The young core is putting in real work everywhere you look. The negativity is not coming from inside that locker room. It's coming from studios. Meanwhile, the scoreboard that actually counts says this thing is razor close. Watson at 13 touchdowns and 3 picks in open drills. Shedeur at 5-3 on fewer attempts. Close enough that a national ESPN voice is calling it the truest quarterback battle in football. Nobody has won anything yet. Nobody has lost anything yet. Which means every screen you hear between now and camp is entertainment, not information. The man in the ice bath understands that better than anyone paid to talk about him. Training camp is right around the corner, and that's when the ice baths, the chains, and the 104-degree throw-in sessions either show up on the field or they don't. That's the beautiful part. Shedeur doesn't have to win a single argument on 92.3 The Fan. He has to win 3 preseason games worth of reps under a brand new head coach with 0 old baggage against a veteran who knows this is his last stand. The media meltdown will keep running on schedule. Every dead week, every slow news day. He'll keep doing what he's been doing all summer, which is nothing except working. So I've got one question for you. When this competition ends, is it Shedeur's silent grind that wins the job, or does Deshaun Watson hold him off one more year? Drop it in the comments. I read everything. Smash like and subscribe.